I gotta say, man, back up till it sounds expensive.
Yeah. Back up till it sounds expensive is the way I roll right into things.
Hey everyone, I'm Brad from Calgary.
This is Sean from Cambridge, Ontario.
I'm Terry from Cornwall, Ontario.
Hey, this is Larry from Pitt Meadows, British Columbia, and you're listening to the Towing Life Podcast.
Welcome to the Towing Life Podcast, where the ditches are deep, the trucks are loaded, but the drivers are not. I am your host, TowManG, and as usual, I am joined by my co-host, friend, and former co-worker, the man with very strong opinions himself, who also looks beat, Mr. PlainGuy.
What is going on, G? What is going on?
I think I'm doing a little bit better than you. You look like you got the shit kicked out of you this last week.
Ooh.
You weren't even the one with COVID.
Yeah. I know. I was the one that was actually working. You should try it sometime. What a week. What a week. You and I are at different ends of the province, but I think the weather hit the size of the storm just everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, we had freezing cold temperatures. It was minus 30 most nights. I don't know what the conversion is for our American listeners, but it's really cold. Really cold.
Minus 32 is the same for both, I think.
No, so, minus 40, I believe, is where they meet.
I think it's minus 32.
All right. Well, I'm right. You're wrong.
Okay.
No, it's irrelevant. It's cold. It doesn't matter what unit of measurement you are using. It is goddamn cold.
Yeah, it's hard nipples and trying to get 3 inches of peen through 6 inches of Carhartt. It does not work.
It never works too well. But no, we had from starting on Saturday, Sunday, freezing cold, a wicked storm that hit the province. I think it hit most of the eastern seaboard, to be honest. I seen this thing coming up. It was massive. There was snowfall from, north of Florida all the way to north of Quebec. Yeah. So we big snowdrop on Monday, and then more cold, and then more snow, and then more cold, and it's been a week, man. It has been a week.
I unfortunately couldn't work the Monday because I was still recuperating. My fever broke on the Monday. So I was like, oh, perfect. I'll get to go to work on Tuesday. Went to work on Tuesday, killed it. I think I knocked out 24 calls by myself for the earlier part of the day. Plus, I couldn't get into a truck till 9 a.m. So that kind of sucked. Hammered that out. Felt like Superman again. I put on my cape. I was loving life. Wednesday to today, I was training a new guy. So he's doing all right. He's picking it up slowly, but he's getting it. No problem solving skills, which that needs to be fixed. He did asphalt for 5 or 6 years, so it was the same thing day in, day out. So He's coming to the towing industry because he wants that change of pace, which the towing industry can offer so good. We're going over winches with him and towing and dollies, and I did a heavy today, so I showed him a bit of frame forking as well, and he's enjoying it. So that makes me feel good. It makes my days better. Yeah, I'm not making as much money because we're going slow, but he's learning, which is the best thing. And,
we got a new guy as well that started in the last like a week and a half ago. Man, what an introduction he's gotten. He came from doing equipment, hauling dump truck, and then hauling some equipment. He did some snow removal. So he definitely understands the call-ins, the weird hours, the weather conditions and that. But I mean, it was okay, we're going to train you. Here's how it's going to go. And that plan went out the window about 3 days into the training. And it's like, all right, you can do services if we're busy. Cool. Go out and do boost. Okay, cool. You can haul forklifts. Okay, we've got land all work for you to do. It's kind of, we're going to get you trained on the actual towing side, but I really need to work to your skills at this point because, I mean, we don't have the time. We can't be with a highway closure trying to teach you how to hook up a tractor. It's kind of watch, learn what you can, and on to the next one. And when things settle down a little bit, we'll get some proper training in, some proper experience. Before we get too long into it, though, as usual, we do want to mention if you guys have any subjects or questions you would like covered on the show, you can let us know. You can email us at thetowinglife@gmail.com or by searching at the Towing Life Podcast on Facebook. You can also find us on the website, www.towinglife.ca. You can also call us at 249-666-2209. You will see the phone number up if you're watching on the YouTube side. If you are, be sure to hit that like. Be sure to drop that comment. It helps the algorithm. We're everywhere and anywhere. You guys want to get a hold of us? You want to tell us what you think? By all means, reach out to us. The emails have come in. We've still been talking about it. We want to do an episode where we just do customers. I'm so used to speaking to customers. Listener call-ins, listener questions, all that kind of stuff. We will get to them, guys, as we go. Thank you for listening, every one of you. I think I just seen a thing we just hit. If we haven't, it was either 5,000 or 4,500 downloads on the podcast. So you guys are absolutely rocking it. We truly appreciate it. I'm sorry that I missed last week. I do apologize. I'm sorry you had to listen to a sick TowManG for 30 minutes. I will try my best to not let that happen again.
You better. That sucked.
That being said, I have many corrections to make on you, sir. I did listen to the episode.
Oh, really? You listened to one?
I know. For anyone that doesn't know, I don't listen to the episodes before they air. G is in charge of most of the editing. All of the editing. I don't know if I'm saying most, all. So he definitely listens through before they go live. I rarely do. I believe this was one of the first ones that I did. And I don't remember if I listened before it went live or if I actually listened on Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube, any of the places you can find us, anywhere you get podcasts. Perfect time to plug.
Shameless.
I don't remember where I watched it or listened, but I did. And the one chain wonder is what I wanted to get to first. See, the one chain wonder was not a reference to the Sentry thing, where you were talking about the basket straps on the Sentry wheel lifts.
I said that so it'd be legal, you know?
I might have fed you some bullshit back in the day. I don't know. Somebody would probably correct me if I probably got the MTO watching me now because they're like, oh yeah, he thinks that's legal? Wait till we see him do it.
Am I on the list now thanks to you?
Yeah, exactly. We got on the MTO watch list. No, the one chain wonder I always referred to was the flatbeds. The flatbeds with the 1J hook and the winch pulled tight and away they go. That was always the one chain wonder thing on my behalf. So yeah, again, the legality of the Sentry basket straps, I would like to pull that back in. I remember hearing that information, and I think that's the biggest problem. Is so many guys will tell you that is what I've heard from multiple operators, but nobody can give it to you on paper. And the problem is because go to an MTO officer and ask them for, the specifics of, especially in towing, right? Ask them for a specific. You go ask 3 different officers, you're going to get 3 different answers, and none of them will give them to you on paper.
Yeah.
Because A, they don't want liability, and B, I don't think they honestly know. Mm-hmm. Right? You can read one law that says one thing, and the next law contradicts it completely.
You know what's hilarious? Like 15 years ago, the one guy I work with, he got pulled over and he got a fine for an insecure load towing a vehicle down the road with one safety chain. Right?
Okay.
How it was wrapped, I don't care.
Yeah.
Anyways, he went to court and he said, so you're saying my wheel lift is not a form of securement? They're like, no. I was like, okay, so if you take my wheel lift away, am I towing the car? They're like, well, no. Like, so if I drive and I hit the brake, does that car stay where it is? Well, yeah. Like, if I accelerate, does that car stay where it is? Yeah. So then it is what? Like, they couldn't say it. So technically, I've got 2 scoops that are holding the car there, and now I have my safety chain on. They threw it out because they just didn't have the actual proper writing at the time. And I think that's one of the reasons how all the information is just so scattered, is because you have stories like that from back in the day.
Yeah.
And these people, I'm training the new guy, and he was like, oh, I wanted to get my grandfather to come out and teach me a few things from back in the day. I was like, that's fine. Learn from as many people as you can. But don't take everything he says as gospel, because he's been out of the industry for the last 15, 16 years.
And even some of the guys in the industry are outdated on their information, right?
And if you only learn from that guy, I'm sure you're going to learn lots of cool tricks that probably even PlainGuy or myself don't know. But you won't know what's legal or what's not. And even us, we don't have the best idea because it's so hard to find the actual information written down somewhere to where that's gospel. It's always speculation or this, or like you said, the three different officers will give you three different answers.
Yep.
And that's one of the reasons why this industry is so all over the place, is because the information for everything is so all over the place.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a huge problem, right? If anyone has, and this is a question I will put out to you guys, if anyone has information, you will know the reference I'm talking about, that they say that I believe it's Sentry or Vulcan flatbeds, that you are not to tow a vehicle on the wheel lift of I can't remember if it's a Sentry or a Vulcan, without a vehicle on the bed because of the bed locks. Is the theory behind it is that the bed locks. I have searched and talked to people who have ran Sentry equipment, who are big Miller fans. And they're telling me, I've never heard of that. I've never seen it in writing. I have other guys saying it's in the owner's manual. So if anybody has an owner's manual for a Sentry Vulcan, take a look at it. Look through if there was any mention. And I don't know, this could have been some of the older stuff. The newer stuff might not include that, but that is something that I always believe, that I was always told, was that NRC at the time, and Rika, yeah, absolutely. But at the time, this was before Rika was really taken off the way they have. NRC was the only one rated. And I've talked to NRC people, I've talked to Miller people. I'd like somebody from Miller to retrade out and confirm or deny this with actual writing on it. But if not, if any of you guys are listening and or watching and have that, send it over. Like I said, you got the email. I put it up on the video right now, thetowinglife@gmail.com. There's also somebody else. I cannot remember. I wish I had the page open. I need to close our Facebook while we do these recordings, because if not, any notifications that come in, it overlaps over, and it messes up our audio. But there was talks about those Hondas that you need a special tool from the dealership to put them in neutral. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
There was a gentleman that reached out and said there is a way. The guy from the dealership showed it to me. Next time I do one, I'll send you the video. I really hope you do, because I ran into an Odyssey again the other day that has this same transmission, and I think we're going to see it more and more. For those of you that haven't listened to past episodes, Honda has this push button transmission up on the column, park, neutral, reverse. Everyone's going to them. And there is no override that I can see. Guys talk about pulling the linkage. I don't even know if there's a linkage in the same sense anymore, because everything's electronic. But these things don't go into neutral. And what I had read online was that there was a tool you could get from Honda. It cost a couple $100. I mean, I've ran into 2 in a month. They keep coming. I might have to invest in the tool. But if anyone has seen the way to do these, if you know about what I'm talking about, please send it over. I could really use it. I'm tired of these.
Especially these neutral releases are becoming more and more of a problem, because a lot of new vehicles have fewer and fewer transport slots. I saw just the headline, a tow truck driver apparently, I guess, loaded one of the new Mustangs, and there's only tow hooks to load onto a bed on the front. There's nothing on the rear. Apparently, this guy caused like $30,000 worth of damage to this vehicle. I didn't read too much into it because it looked like a third-party thing anyways, so I was just like, oh, that's weird. And there's a whole big comment debate in the comment section on this Facebook thread.
Yeah, and then either the operator was stupid or...
you get that.
How those go.
But a buddy of mine, he actually sent me a picture, and he was like, there's nothing to hook onto on these new Chargers or Challengers. Like, there's nothing.
Yeah, because it's all the bar rear end, just the 2 little bars.
And then he sent me another one from the Tow Bible. If you're with some of these roadsites, they'll send you booklets with information. And he sends me a picture of the Chrysler 200. And there is absolutely no tie-down spots on it. Like, it doesn't show any at all.
Right, 4 chains we're referring to. I mean, there's always the wheels.
Chains.
Yeah,
there's always the wheels. And he was like, how do you recover these out of the ditch? And I was like, rim jobs, man. Rim jobs are becoming more popular because that's the strongest part of the car that's left. Yeah. Right? We're losing our control arms. We're losing, or pretty well lost, the lower shock hole. If they don't have a plug that's pretty well sealed, there is no rear shocks because they've gone to a wishbone suspension setup with a standalone shock and no spring mount. and we're losing our structural transport slots. So that pretty much leaves us winching cars out normally in park with the e-brake on from the rims, whether you're using a mini J through a steel rim or you're doing your endless loop around the actual tire, or even an axle strap through like 8 or 3 or 4 of the spokes of the rim. Whatever way you do it, if it works for you. But that's pretty well the strongest part. But even then, you run into, if you're doing it from the front tire, okay, having the customer now in the car holding the steering wheel straight, so you're taking less of the strain off of like popping out a tie rod or popping out the CV shaft.
Overextending a wheel. Yeah.
So now you're into even more liability of having the customer in the car.
You could always tie off the steering wheel.
You could.
Who does it? Let's be honest. I've thought about that too. You're winching stuff out and the wheels are going to want to turn. And you're like, I want to lock the wheel. I mean, if the customer's sitting there, or I'm going to use a ratchet strap, because you should not use the seatbelts. For those of you that don't know, have we done it? Yes. Everyone has done it at one point or another. They do recommend against using the seatbelts to tie up the steering wheel. It can apparently damage the SRS systems, the restraint systems in the seatbelts. So they say not to use them to tie off wheels because it's a liability issue.
Yep.
But we've
and
done
you
it.
can also rip out the tilt function. If you are going to be doing anything, even strapping steering wheels in general, you want that steering wheel tilted all the way down. Right? They taught me that in one of the roadside training, just because now if you are strapping it down and it's tilted up, you're putting even more pressure on that ratchet system, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then if that breaks and your steering wheel's tight, well, it's not tight anymore because it just dropped 2 inches.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, that's fair. And then you're looking into steering columns and everything else, and something you don't want to mess around with. But
big money.
Yeah. No, like we talked about, right? How many engineers are pissed off at tow truck drivers and decide to make some of these weird designs that they make? Because I don't have another explanation for it. Like it's I know there's a lot of products out there that are helping make life easier. Right, I was talking to an operator this week. They talk about the Teslas, right? We talked about those, how the Teslas are becoming more and more popular and they're running into their issues. And they have the tow hooks on the front when you're loading them on the flatbed, and then you can offset it with a soft strap and a snatch block. There's also, I never even realized, we were talking to somebody, you and I, this week, who was mentioning about how they have these safety setups for those that go also from your winch line to the A-arm. So if that tow hook, tow hook were to actually pull out, it relies secondarily on this soft strap that goes to an A-arm to catch the car from rolling away. I think that is genius. We will definitely get into that product more. But you're seeing these bridles now where they loop back to themselves with the soft strap. I feel like we've talked about them before.
Oh, multiple times, I'm pretty sure.
And for the Teslas, they're perfect. You know, a lot of these things with tow hooks, they're perfect. They're a lot more work.
Yeah.
Because it's not just getting under feeling, making sure you're on the A-arm and pulling. Yeah. But, you know, they're adding that you're not going to damage these new composite materials that they're making stuff out of. You know what I seen today? And I would like to shoot the guy that designed it.
What's that?
I don't know if I've ever seen one or if I just haven't noticed. I got the wonderful pleasure of towing a 2021 Volkswagen Beetle.
Okay.
And I've heard of them, and I've seen photos of them, and I believe I know somebody that broke them, and I don't think it was you. The plastic Volkswagen oil pans.
Oh.
So Volkswagens, as everyone knows who's ever ran a wrecker, if you haven't, even on beds, I'm sure you've noticed, have an oil pan that there is no cross members. Not that it sits below the cross members, there is no cross members. So the first point of impact on a wheel lift on a lot of these Volkswagens will be the oil pan.
And it's plastic.
Yeah. So the oil pans were first steel. Then they went to aluminum. So steel wheel lift, aluminum oil pan. You can guess who wins that fight.
Yeah.
And now they're plastic. They're like a honeycomb. What?
In the cold.
That was my thing. I was worrying about today. I was loading one. I wasn't worried about, I do the double pick. I get the height, the clearance, no problem. I'm worried about tapping it during the loading and unloading while you're double picking it.
Yeah.
It's minus 30 some degrees outside. I don't know what this plastic is like, but for the most part, plastic is fragile in the cold.
Yeah.
I would love to find the engineer that decided this was a good idea and have 5 minutes in a room with them.
Yeah. Why aren't they putting some sort of protective cover under this? Because I'm sure you've all towed one where some guy's driving down the road and hit a hole in the road or hit a small curb and just completely destroyed the oil pan. Like absolutely mangled this thing. And I'm sure and other operators out there, if you do run a wrecker and you got your wheel lift underneath and as you're tilting up, you can see the body of the car moving before the wheels.
Yeah, yep.
That's because you're touching something underneath the car and lifting the body up before the suspension. Normally, not that big of a deal. It's nice and slow, low impact. Yeah,
it flexes. It's all plastic. It flexes. Yeah.
Is it great? No. Does it happen? Yes. Do we get away with it? Normally. With these plastic oil pans, and I'm assuming plastic drain plugs too, which I'm sure that would be fun to not strip. Yep. Torque that little bastard down.
So you torque it at about half a foot-pound, or you're going to strip the damn
thing. With these plastic oil pans now, like you're saying, even just picking it up and picking the body up of the car, that is very, very sketchy.
Well, I always get more concerned in the wintertime when it comes with that. And you are right. Normally, while you get that tilt before you get that first couple inches of clearance, you're going to get a little flex, and it normally happens right on where the bumper meets the fenders.
Yep.
Especially as we're, a lot of guys have gone away from the 3,500 wreckers in Ontario. Yep. So they've gone to the 45-55s. What we're seeing with that is you want to open up the options for that truck. So a lot of guys are getting the bigger T-bar on them.
Yep.
Right. I think normally the
4-inch.
Some of the they were 3-inch. The old ones, the new ones are 4-inch. Yep. So and cars aren't getting any higher.
No,
cars are definitely not.
Even the Chev pickup trucks with the stupid plastic valance. I rubbed that. I'm like, this is a pickup truck, full size pickup.
Yeah, it's unreal.
Yeah,
it's unreal. So my biggest concern, summertime, I don't mind it so much. You watch, I've definitely seen, and God, I hope it doesn't happen to you guys, but you definitely see guys who will, you'll pop the bumper clips out where they meet the fender. It's happened. Especially on old rot and stuff. God knows. Yeah. Half of them you get to nowadays. I got to an 03 Alero today, and all the bumper clips were already out of it before I even got there.
Yeah.
You're starting to see that kind of stuff. But no, with the cold weather, it's definitely something to keep an eye out, because that plastic is not as flexible. Wintertime, it is more likely to crack. It is more likely to break something. So definitely take extra precaution with it, because I don't want to see anybody paying for a damage claim. Ideally, there'd be no such thing as damage claims in towing. That's a pipe dream and a half.
Speaking of plastic in the winter, the unlocks with the little plastic strip on the doors, you put your airbag in there and you start and you hear and then you get your long bar in there, and I'm hoping you're using something for like a paint protector or something along those lines. And have you ever had one pop off while doing an unlock?
Oh, the little black strips? I don't know if I have. I've definitely been worried, especially, go back to Volkswagens. I remember there was a couple of years of Jettas that, holy crap, that it was tight to get in there, and that plastic would make all kinds of funny noises.
Or you're doing something without the actual window trim. Subarus,
like a frameless window.
Yeah, where they actually recess in a little bit. So now you're got your airbag in there. If you're using in the door tools, that's probably your best bet. Yep. But if you're using a long bar for everything, which a lot of the new guys are, myself included, and I've been doing this for over 5 years, it's sketchy, because you got to get it open enough to get your long bar in, and then hopefully some breathing room. And if you're still too tight, I don't want to scratch their actual plastic, which I've done once, and it sucks. And to repair it yourself is a pain in the ass. No wonder why dealerships could charge so much to do it. And it's just the cold messes with things so much. And it's my truck was sitting down at the dealer there getting fixed, and they didn't start it during that cold snap. So when I went to go pick it up on the Tuesday morning, I now need 2 new batteries because the one battery exploded and they're old, right? So I was smart, and I was like, you know what? I know they're bad, and it's going to be cold the rest of the week. Just put new batteries in. I don't know how many people we've met this week, more than once.
Yeah.
After we said, you're going to need a new battery. Go get a new battery. Call before you go. And they still just say, oh, okay, well, I'll see you tomorrow, tow guy.
I want to get back to your unlock thing. I did one the other day. I was doing a transport. I hate transports.
Yeah.
Hate them with a passion, but it was a brand new I forgot what it was. I think it was an international. I don't remember. But we actually have, so we have a transport unlock kits shop. We have 2 of them.
Now, what are they?
Okay, so it's a lot of, if you remember when we've seen through these Bibles that you were referring to, there's all these weird looking tools you've never seen of.
Yeah.
But we have a Bible, and it is specifically for heavy trucks. And it'll give you the tool number 102, 101, whatever it is, and it'll give you a breakdown, similar to your light duty. It's the same way. 90% of them, though, are in the door tools, meaning you're not using an airbag, you're going in through the window.
Yeah.
So I'm up, and I want to say, I think it was an international. I don't remember what it was, but I'm up because I came out with a service car. So normally when I get these, if I'm there with a flatbed, I back the flatbed up close. I stand on the flatbed while I do the unlock.
Yeah.
It makes sense. That way you're not, standing on, holding onto a mirror. And
yeah.
Well, this time I was standing on, holding onto a mirror. And it shows me the tool, and it says the procedure, whatever. So I take my little window wedge for the
window seal.
Yeah, the little window seal. And I get my tool down. And I'm like, okay, I think I'm at it. And I've got one mirror, arm wrapped around the mirror, standing up on the steps. And I push. And when I pushed, I didn't realize it didn't just unlock the door. It opened the door.
Oh, no.
So the door starts pivoting, and I'm going with it. And you got nothing to grab onto. Like, there's
you can't push the door back shut. You can't push on the door.
I'm pulling, because I'm leaning back on the door. Yeah. As soon as I hit it, it pulled me with it, and the door's just open, and the guy's just looking at me. I'm like, help.
Because you're losing your step now, too, with the door open.
Well, that's exactly it, right? Like, I'm almost hanging, and if I'm a big lad, if I got to hang off this guy's mirror, he's going to need a new mirror. So it was, so watch out on your transports.
You're going to have to redo the hinges on that door for all the wind noise he's going to get now.
How did you bend this door? Did you use an airbag? No, sir. I just hung off it when it opened. Oh, but man, it was, it was definitely, it's moments like that I wish I had dash cams or something, because I imagine it would have been quite the sight to see.
You didn't want to stand on the roof of your service car?
No, I'd cave that in too. They don't make them like they used to, I tell you.
You should carry a step ladder in your service car for that reason.
The only one that carries a step ladder in my service car is my boss, and that's because you can't unlock a Prius without needing a step ladder.
It's funny. Yeah, the rookie I'm teaching, he's short. And I was like, the hood's aluminum. Put the tow light on the roof of the van. He's like,
help.
Dash? I was like, no, the roof. It's magnetic. Oh.
We worked with a guy that used to carry a milk crate around his truck all the time. That was his step, and it was for a lot of those situations. This was also the guy that I would see bear hug and wrestle a dolly bar to the ground on a half ton.
Yeah.
He weighed about 90 pounds and needed way more than the force that he had to crank those things up.
I think with the aluminum ones, like the in the ditch ones, he was fine with, but his old metal ones, he had trouble getting up.
It shouldn't change, though, the amount of leverage you need steel bar to an aluminum bar, I wouldn't think.
I know, but
the bar
to be honest
more.
with you, if he had to hang off of that every single time he put down dollies, I don't know how he's still alive, to be honest with you. But I remember him telling me the one day that he had more trouble with the old steel ones than compared to the aluminum ones.
You know what? I have a question for the listeners and even for yourself, and I know you don't have much experience, but I went out last week with a heavy operator. We were pulling out a garbage truck, it was a garbage truck. And so first big snowfall, so you got the big boots on, the big winter jacket. I want to know how you heavy operators who do a lot of recoveries are not jacked and in amazing shape. I know it's the coffee and the donuts and the drive-through, but I mean, we've talked about snatch blocks on light duties, 2-ton snatch block versus 4-ton snatch block. Grab one of theirs. Grab one of those things, throw it over your shoulder, and go walk through a ditch. It's a workout. Then you start getting these, these bigger grade chains and everything. And it's like, how are you guys not all ripped?
I think part of it, and it could be the TV shows talking, but you always see these massive crews on these recoveries. So they get the young guys like myself to go do that for you. Like, hey, take this gear, run that down into the ditch, right? And then I'll come down, I'll show you how to hook it up, which is a good learning experience for the young lad.
Absolutely. Right? That's what swampers are.
Yeah, that's what they are. And normally that you were his swamper that day, right? That's
He's younger than I am.
Oh, for fuck's sakes. But you were still his swamper, so you got to carry the rigging.
No, it's because he was smart and grabbed the soft straps and went to grab them. And so I was next one to the truck and went, wow, we need a snatch block. Carry this thing through the ditch. And that's the first thing I asked him, how are you not in better shape? Like, you've got, 6 years younger than me, I think it was. And I was like, man, if you're hauling these things around every time, you got to go pull something out. And we pull a lot of stuff out.
Yeah.
You should
What happens if your winch bird's nests on one of those heavy wreckers?
Have you tried just free spooling some of these heavy wreckers?
Yeah, you got to be a strong man.
That's what I told him. I started, and mind you, it was frozen. It was snow. It was cold as hell. And I'm hanging off it. And I mean, like, I'm, 285. And I'm hanging off this line. I'm looking like Miley Cyrus in her music video. And this thing's barely moving. I'm like, man, winch out. Like, winch out. I can't do this. Like, there's not enough traction in the world to get me to pull this thing out.
There's not enough me to get this going.
Yeah, so winch out, please. And I'll drag it from there. We're gonna, what happens when you bird nest it? You curse a lot is the answer to that question. Absolutely curse a lot.
But is that something that you can still fix on the side of the road like a light duty guy can?
I don't think it's as easy. So the trick is do not bird nest it. No, we've
Hopefully
definitely
you've got
had
enough experience to keep your winch cable tight while you're winding it in.
Oh, I'm telling you, man, synthetic rope. I haven't seen it on the heavies. But
would you want to trust a rope on the heavy though?
Yes. If I trust it on a light, I trust it on a heavy. The difference is adding a couple zeros.
Yeah.
Right? That's the difference, is adding a couple zeros.
Yeah, but most of the light duty stuff is mostly plastic and it's a little bit more forgiving. Once you get into like the bigger iron, all you're doing is hooking onto metal frames and going around. Well, I'm just hoping you're going to be using more straps for like the dangerous spots.
Yeah.
But
yeah, one thing you see in heavies that you don't really see in light duties is definitely strap protectors.
Yeah.
Right? How many guys carry strap protectors on there? I've seen guys that haul sea cans and that on flatbeds. They'll have the corner straps and different things like that. Yeah. But no, absolutely. It's all watching where you hook, because chain or strap, never mind the rope. If you're running strap, you need to protect the strap too. So you're using it the same way as you would the synthetic rope on the winch. So no, absolutely. I would definitely trust it. And I mean, I've been running a flatbed more than I'd like to admit lately. And, lucky enough to have the NRC with the side pullers and that. But this synthetic rope, the more I use it, the more it amazes me. The more it doesn't bird nest. It's almost impossible. I don't want to try. I really don't feel like putting a new wire rope on a truck. But I mean, it's just the way it spools back up and everything. Like it's unreal to use. So no, because it doesn't have that memory like a steel cable does.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't.
I guess you can't get flat spots in it either.
What's that? No, you can't crush it.
Yeah.
I believe there's something, and I could be 100% wrong. And if I am, I apologize in advance. But whenever you would first wrap these, though, you almost have to like stretch them. Right? Because they come round, and then after using it for a while, they become flatter.
Yeah.
And once they're flat, they spool up so much nicer. But it's just the way it works. It's almost impossible to bird nest it up. I'd like to see if somebody has bird nested a synthetic rope.
Do not go out and try it. Your boss will not thank us.
I mean, if you're gonna send us the footage, that's all I'm asking. If you are going to do it, be sure to send us the footage. But no, it's you get into the heavies. I haven't used it. I don't think we have one that runs it. I've seen photos of heavies running it. I would like to try it, but man, just like I said, versatility. I'm not going to go in again, but versatility, everything, especially in these snowstorms and all that. But it doesn't have that natural want to recoil up like a steel one does. So whenever you're doing recovery after recovery, car out of the ditch, car out of the ditch, car out of the ditch, you've seen the beds, seen guys, we see posts all the time about winch porn, right? Where it's that nice new winch line wrapped up. The synthetic rope, you don't have that where it's chaos. It always looks good. But then again, we're, trained to take care of it. That's, I think, important.
I guess if you get one of those guys where we had a customer the one day, he got his van stuck in a football field. And there was a fence. So we gave him the cable and was like, just run this out. We'll come out with additional strapping needed.
Right,
And he
right.
goes and goes and goes, and we yell stop, and he's like, oh, well, there's only 2 feet that I need. I'll just pull a little bit more. And he goes, ting, and it comes flying out, and you look at him, he's like, what the fuck, man? And he's like, oh,
Wait,
well, I only
it
need
shouldn't
2 more
have came
feet. And I
out
was like,
just
I
for-
got 8 feet of chain right in my hand. Like,
But it shouldn't have came out with just the force of him pulling it.
no, like he gave it a,
Even
it must be
that.
stuck or something.
But your set screw, like I know it's only a set screw that holds it in at the final wrap, but I mean, it should.
Yeah, it doesn't take much to pull them out. Have you ever pulled one out by accident? I know I have. And it sucks.
I free spooled and pulled forward.
Yeah.
And normally what I do when I'm doing that is I tilt my boom up
So
that I can see it in my rear view mirror on the wreckers.
Yeah.
And I did that one time pulling out a transport. And I was double lined, which anytime you're double lined, you forget that you lose
You
half
got
the
twice
cable.
as much line out there.
Exactly. And I pulled forward, and right as I felt the tug, it ripped out, and I went, "That was stupid."
Yeah.
I've
done it before, but I'm assuming, when you do it, you've normally now frayed the end, so you got to get a piece of tape and cut that piece of the cable to get it back in properly. With your rope, you got a X-Acto knife or you got a pair of scissors, tape that up.
I don't know. I've never pulled one out of a drum to see. Yeah, I've never tried to pull it out of the drum like that, out of the screw to see what it would do. I'd be curious to see it though, just to try it. I do know we had one where we had broken the cable, the wire rope, and so we had set up I didn't do it, but some Scout's knot to get. I don't know what the knot
fit
was
through
called.
the shift head.
What?
Your knot fit back through your shift head.
It was on a flatbed.
Oh, okay.
We don't run the synthetic on the wrecker. It's only in the beds, but we had broken it, and so it was tied up in a knot, hooked back, attached. We used it, as a temporary fix.
Yeah.
It's a temporary fix.
Get the job done, get back to the shop.
And get it repaired, absolutely. And the boss came out, and he actually did a repair on it where you weave it back through, which I've seen guys do with steel cable as well, which is pretty awesome.
It's badass to see. If you haven't seen a video of it, you should YouTube it.
Absolutely. Go on YouTube right now, search for, what would you call that, G?
Wire rope splice, I guess.
Wire rope splice, yep. Steel cable, wire rope splice, steel cable splice. And the way these guys can hook them back in, well, the synthetic rope is very much the same. And you look at this line right now, and you could not tell that wasn't a brand new line, other than it doesn't have, normally they come with like a black protective sleeve over the actual end. That's the only thing that's missing. I couldn't tell this line had been repaired. And it was amazing, because that's another thing you see guys do all the time, right? Repairing steel lines. Yeah. Right. And, never saddle a dead horse is a term you would learn whenever you were wrapping that cable back and using the, I don't want to use the improper term, but I'm going to call them Ubolt clamps. I know that's not what they're called. But there was a proper way to organize your clamps. If you don't know, look it up. It could save your life if something were to let go. And then there was also, and I really should have this terminology handy. I did not expect this conversation to go this way. I am not prepared. But there is a type of hook that you can get that you put onto a broken winch line where it's like a wedge. And so the more it pulls it tightens it. If anyone can think of the name, please send it to me. I cannot for the life of me think of the name of it off.
I've seen those being used before. The company we worked at together, the old guy, the guru, if you will, he used the guru, and it was phenomenal. That was the first time I saw it, and I was like, that is like the badass, like the most badass thing I saw that year, I think. Right, and it makes so much sense because you're just wrapping the cable around to itself, and then you're pinching it together like a zipper, right? And the tighter you pull, the more it sets in. Yep. And then it's got like I'm assuming it's like little barbs or teeth on the inside to like lock it in place. Yeah, wedge socket, cable clamp to attach hook to winch cable, wire rope for wrecker. So I believe it's called a wedge socket. So the wedge sockets are definitely the, I don't know if they're meant for full application use, but they are definitely the way to go. As soon as I search it up, of course, first place I find is BA products through Amazon. Is there anything those guys do not sell? If they don't sell it, I don't want it. but no, they are definitely, he had one set up on his winch line, and the harder you pull it, the more it bites in. Yeah.
There's no opportunity for those, the Ubolt clamps, which I really should know the term. If my father listens to this, which he does every once in a while, he's going to be listening right now, shaking his head going, you idiot. We have talked about these things 100 times. You know what they're called. They're just absolutely slipping my vocabulary right now.
It's been a long week.
It has been a week.
Yeah, I let my rookie do almost everything today. I was just keeping an eye on him through like the backup camera on the truck and everything, and through the mirrors, because it's cold and I'm lazy. If I can sit in the warm truck, I'll sit in the fucking warm truck. You would do the same, anyways. So he's boosting this Duramax.
Do the same.
Yeah, he's boosting this Duramax, and I'm watching him. And he comes back for the second booster pack that we have, and I was like, "Yeah, that's smart. One on each battery. It's cold." So another couple minutes goes by, and I get out of the truck, and I was like, "So what's going on?" And he's like, "Oh, I cycled the glow plugs on the truck like 8 times, and now it won't start." I was like, "You did what now?" He's like, "Yeah, I cycled the glow plugs like 8 times on this truck." And I was like, "With our battery packs?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, that's how you kill battery packs, right? He's like, "Oh." I was like, "Well, how is that?" I was like, "It's a battery, and you just wasted all the juice that is needed to crank your truck over and warming it up."
Which is equally important when it is that cold. Because there is the difference between a frozen engine and a dead battery.
Yes.
And, you might get a slow crank and a click, 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 and you go, oh, it's a battery. Well, not necessarily.
It's just too cold to actually turn it over.
It's just too cold. The oil's too thick. Speaking of that, I ran into something. I didn't know it existed. Anyone listening, you can tell me if you knew it existed. They make a diesel Chevy Equinox?
What?
Yeah!
I think those are big over in Europe. A lot of these models that we have that are always like little 2-liter cars over here, they all have diesel versions over there. Like the old Dakota trucks were diesel. They had little diesels over there.
Well, I get a call for Europe, you're right, runs a lot of the diesels, but I get a call for a Chevy Equinox. Yes, Chevy Equinox. I want to make sure. It's one of those Chevy SUVs, but it was the Equinox.
Yeah.
And I popped the hood, and it says Ecotech, which really threw me off. And I look at the oil cap, and it says 5W30.
Oh. Okay.
So I put my booster pack on, I get in the car, and I'm about to crank it over, and don't I notice the glow plug light? And I don't even think about it. I don't even think about it because in my mind, they don't make a diesel.
Yeah.
And I go to turn it over, and whoa, super slow, and I'm like, okay. Parked out on the river. It's cold as hell.
Yeah.
All right. And I don't remember how we got onto it. And I go to turn the key again. I let the booster pack sit for a minute. I go to turn the key again. And I go, hey, Globe. I look at the lady. And I go, is this thing diesel? Like, thinking I'm crazy. Yeah. And she's like, yeah. I'm like, are you sure? Like, I'm questioning her, right? I'm like, are you sure? She literally had to open her fuel cap to show me the DEF tank, the DEF fill, and the fuel cap. And I'm like... I look at the back and it says like turbo diesel or something, diesel, whatever on the back. Yeah. And I'm like, it's an Equinox.
Yeah.
It was like an Equinox corporate edition. It was some weird model I've never seen.
When you show up at the diesel pump and you see that thing blocking you,
you're cursing at them.
Old gassers just blocking the diesel pump. Sure shit, it's diesel.
She told me, she's like, you would not believe how many times where I've had like guys come up to me at the station. Because I'm putting diesel in, they're like, honey, it's a gas. And she's like, nah, it's not. And I'm like, I would be that guy being like, I don't want to have to tow you in 5 minutes, so I should probably tell you you're putting diesel into your Equinox.
That's when women go like, yeah, I know what the fuck I'm doing. Just back off.
Right? And you think it's, like, no, I'm not trying
and
to.
Now you being the man trying to mansplain to her now looks like the idiot, right? Yeah. I had this... I'm training this guy and we get a Jeep Compass. And I was like, so you want to make sure if it's all-wheel drive or two-wheel drive to the rookie. And as we're hooking everything up, he talked to her. And in the call that we had, it said two-wheel drive, all-wheel drive. And I was like, so whoever took the call didn't know. So they just put down both. So check. Always check.
Yep.
And he didn't check, so I checked for him because this was like day one at the time. And as I'm crawling underneath the car, the lady comes out, it's two-wheel drive. I told them. I was like, I know, I just got to check. And she was like, what, you don't believe me? I was like, no, I believe you, but a lot of people don't know if their car's all-wheel drive or two-wheel drive or what type of drivetrain it is. So
Yep.
if I just took everything as face value, I would be buying a lot of cars. And she was like, oh, okay. And it was all snarky with me. I was like, I'm just doing my job, right? It's nothing. It didn't harm you in any way for me to look underneath your vehicle.
So I like to point this out. This Equinox comes, and this is going back to like 2018. These things. How have we not seen these? If you've seen one, please let me know. Are they just not a northern vehicle? That's the only thing I can see. They're a 2-liter all-wheel drive turbocharged diesel engine. Yeah. And I'm looking at the cover under the hood right now, and what's weird is there's a big orange wrapped wire, and I'm like, is it a hybrid too?
Just
I think it was just like a sleeve they put over the wiring, but it does say Ecotech. And the first thing I thought when I seen Ecotech is we've all seen the GM Ecotech engine, right? Like it's not a diesel, and the cap's at 530. Yeah. What is this thing? Apparently it's pretty quick. I'm reading up some specs on it, but yeah. So keep an eye out there for that, guy, especially fuel deliveries. Oh, I'm sure an owner of that has ran into it like this lady had where, they know, but then again, hey, how many customers don't know what kind of vehicle they're driving, let alone what kind of fuel it takes?
Yeah. I've had people get into my tow truck and it's a Ram with the big Ram head on the steering wheel. Is this a Ford? No, Ford logos say Ford on the steering wheel.
Yeah, I've had those weird ones too. Yeah. So what is this, like a 2500? Yeah. Nah, bud. Yeah. Little bit bigger than that. But yeah, so no, anyways, they are a thing out there. I've never seen one before. That was definitely a first for me. So I had to explain to this lady because they were from the States. I think it's available in Canada, this vehicle, but I remember they'd moved to this new house out on the river. And I'm like, is this your first winter here? And they said, yeah. And I'm like, can I give you a piece of advice? She goes, what's that? I said, plug it in. Because, I mean, this cold winter, this cold snap like that with a diesel, mind you, it's not the thicker oil. It was 5W30 oil in it, which sends even more for a loop.
Yeah. Now, I find it funny how many people say, why? I plugged my car in. Why is my battery dead?
Oh, I love that one.
I was like, no, what you did is you plugged in your block heater. It's like an oven element for your motor. And they're like, oh. I was like, yeah, it just keeps the motor block warm. But with that being said, you'll start your car and it'll look warm, but your transmission and everything else is still cold. So you still want to let your car warm up. And they're like, I didn't know that. It's like,
there's some natural heat that will dissipate into those things and keep the fluid somewhat. But yeah, I know it's true. A lot of people will go like, the car's been sitting out there for 2 days. Oh, I'm going to go plug it in. And it's like, well, a block heater works best by keeping an engine warm, not by warming up an engine.
Yeah.
So always remind, especially the customers that plug in religiously. Remember there was rumors back when, and again, this is one of those things. I've heard the story. I don't have the writing behind it or the science behind it for that matter, where if you plugged in a car, it got used to being plugged in and then it wouldn't start if you didn't plug it in. You know what I'm talking about? Have you ever heard that saying?
No.
That was one people you say, if you plug in your car, it's kind of like, if you put synthetic in, you got to run synthetic for the rest of its life. Where if you plugged a car in, it was like it would be dependent on being plugged in. So if you didn't plug it in, you were going to have
like
problems.
Crack to your motor.
Yeah, exactly. So no, it's definitely about educating the customers whenever we arrive on these scenes, giving them the best knowledge that we can, and going from there. I don't know about you, G, but it has been a long week. It has been a long show. And why don't you take us out? Tell all the wonderful people, thank them for coming out. Give them all the good news. Tell them where they can find us. And let's get out of here. We got more work to do.
You pretty well just did all that, except for me telling you that you can email us at thetowinglife@gmail.com, finding us on Facebook at The Towing Life Podcast. You can call us for any questions, comments, and or concerns. Tell us that we're dumb, whatever the case may be, at 249-666-2209. With that being said, guys, I hope you guys are staying warm and I hope you're staying safe. Thank you for being here. It was always a pleasure to put on this show and you guys make it worthwhile. So with that said, we will see you next week. Toodles.
Take care.